Welcome to Gemara for Children. Today we are going to learn the Reisha of our Mishnah. In the Reisha, we are going to learn 10 different cases, 10 different items, that if a person finds any of these items, being that all of these items do not have a siman, the finder is allowed to keep them. Before we begin, I would like to first learn the 5 words that are from our Mishnah, and they are: word number 1 is elu, which means these. Word number 2 is shaloi, which means that are his. Word number 3 is patur, which means exempt. Word number 4 is chayav. We're going to give 2 similar translations, and they are obligated or responsible. And the 5th and final word is peiros. Many of you may have learned this word before. Generally, they are translated as fruit, which is correct. However, in the Mishnah, and sometimes in the Gemara, the word peiros is translated more loosely as produce. So we will give both of these translations. Peiros is produce or fruit. So says the Reisha of our Mishnah. The Mishnah is going to quote the opinion of Rabbi Meir, listing 10 different cases. Case number 1 says the Mishnah: if a person finds scattered produce, the Gemara will identify how much produce, scattered over how large of a space. But if you find anything that falls under the criteria that the Gemara will explain, being that there is no siman, then the finder is allowed to keep it. Case number 2 is if a person finds scattered money. Money has no siman. There is nothing on money that can prove that this specific bill or this specific coin belongs to the person that's claiming is the owner. Because even if a person, let's say, writes their name, let's say you write your name on a dollar bill, being that money is meant to be spent, so if your name is found on a dollar, it's very possible that after you wrote your name, you spent it. So there is no siman to money that is scattered. Case number 3 is bundles of grain that are found in a Hatzlacha Rabbah, in a public domain. After people harvest grain, they would bundle it together. And Rashi says that even though many people would have some sort of siman when they would tie it, they would make a special knot or they would put a tag on it. But being that it's found in a public domain and therefore people are trampling on it, so generally any siman that was on it will get destroyed. Case number 4 is if a person finds round cake of pressed figs. Case number 5 is if a person finds bread from a baker. If a person bakes homemade bread, when I bake bread in my kitchen, it has a specific form and it has a specific taste. So that's going to be my siman. But a baker that has a commercial kitchen and produces hundreds and thousands of the exact same loaf of bread, so it doesn't have a siman, there's no identifying mark that could prove that this specific loaf belongs to me. Case number 6 is strings of fish. If anyone has ever been fishing before, you know that to fish you need a rod and you need a string. And many fishermen, after they catch multiple fish, they will take the string and use that to bind and tie the fish together. If you find one of those strings, being that everyone does the same procedure in tying these fish together, it belongs to the finder. Case number 7 is if a person finds pieces of meat. Case number 8 is if a person finds sheared wool which are taken from the city. If someone shears, if someone removes the wool from an animal, and like Rashi explains, and the wool has not been processed yet, so then this piece of wool looks like all other pieces of wool. There is nothing that can be used to identify whom does this piece of wool belong to. Case number 9 is if a person finds bundles of flax. And the 10th and final case of the Reisha of the Mishnah is if a person finds tongues of purple wool. And Rashi explains what that means is if someone takes a piece of wool and they comb it and they shape it into the shape of a tongue. That was a very standard shape. There is no siman, and therefore it belongs to the finder. These 10 cases, says Rabbi Meir, the finder will be allowed to keep it.